Hi, my name is Peter Nian. I play under the game name Way Too Sexy. I'm the captain of Team Dignitas. And on my spare time, I like to play a lot of Dota, watch K-drama or anime.
My name is Rsnake. I play under the handle AUI_2000, and I play the one role, which is the hard carry. And I like to hit creeps. I'm good at PvE. I think I'm a hardworking person in terms of playing Dota. And while I like to have fun, I think that professionalism is very important in Dota.
We bootcamped in Vancouver, Canada for a whole month. By far, our bootcamp was not the best out of every team.
Unfortunately, our bootcamp had a lot of internet issues, actually.
The first 2 weeks of bootcamp, we just kind of sat there. We did what we could, you know. It was too laggy to play.
Hello, I'm Yanis Fogg Lucas from Team Dignitas, and this is our house in Vancouver, Canada, where we'll be bootcamping for the International. This is our bootcamp area where all the magic happens. Get all our practicing done and everything. This is where Snaking sits right over here, our mid-solo. This is my area right here, Fogged. We have some other friends on the computers right now. This is Curtis, AUI's area right here. Sahil Universe's area. This is not Sahil. And then we have in the corner our captain, Way Too Sexy's area. Over here is where we've been, you know, making some masterful cooking, all of us. Fridge is pretty fully loaded. It's pretty clean. We do a pretty good job of cleaning everything around here. Good team effort. Here we are in me and Universe's room. We share a very nice bed right here. This is Universe's side. This is all of his belongings and whatnot. I have my side right over there as well. My dirty laundry all over the place, of course. We have Snaking's room, which is a absolute disaster right now, it appears to be. But this is where he sleeps. And then moving in through here is the master bedroom. This is where our captain, Way Too Sexy, sleeps. This is the master bedroom. We give him as much comfort as he needs so he can have his own time, because I know he has a lot of stress on him having to deal with all of us, but it's fine.
We only really got in 1 week of practice.
It could have been a lot better, but at the same time, you know, like I still feel we're confident, we're the underdogs. Everyone thinks we're gonna get 16th, so I'm ready to prove them wrong, you know? Everyone at this level can take a win off of anyone. Like, there are no teams to be underestimated at this year, and it's just gonna keep on getting tougher and harder, you know?
Winning the International, I think everyone would say would be a dream come true for a Dota player. It's not just the money, it's the prestige.
莱姆张志成，宁夏 China Rsnake. We have no manager, you guys know. We come to Seattle only five teammates. 我们的生活就是等于说是2点一线，就是训练、生活、训练、生活、训练、生活。小罗是一个想法非常多变的人，不光是对手、队友可能跟不上，都跟不上他的思路。因为他是一个经常有奇思妙想的人，他喜欢把奇思妙想带进比赛里面，然后我们，在他的奇思妙想上稍微改变一些东西，然后融入到我们的战术里面。只要发挥好自己的实力，就是不存在所谓的需要特殊的战术去照顾对手。Such a big Dota 2 party. It's very difficult for a new team, but old team, I think old team will be more easy than new team. We will try our best.
Okay, so there we have it. There are 2 introductions for Dignitas and Rsnake. I just want to say we're going to go straight to the game in just a moment, but Dignitas are a fantastic story. They weren't able to qualify last year, even though they were a team that people thought worthy of being at the 2012 International, but they're here for 2013. If they win some money, hopefully they get a better apartment and a cleaner. And of course, Rsnake as well did qualify here through the qualifications. So they have 1 game, 1 shot. If they lose this, their tournament could be over. And with that being said, we're going to throw it over to the hall for Dignitas versus Rsnake, and best of luck to both teams.
Team Dignitas versus Rsnake.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our first elimination match of the International 3. I'm LD. I'm joined here by Luminous. It's time for Rsnake versus Dignitas.
Woo! And of course, the USA chant begins.
The hometown crowd out in force, but Rattlesnake, they fought their way through the wild card match. They had the toughest road here of anyone. Didn't have the best group stage, but that doesn't matter, Lumi. It's all about these elimination matches. Can't worry about the past. Dignitas had their shot at the upper bracket, but here they are, and they got themselves a first pick Wisp, the first Wisp pick of the main event.
Now, of course, as the heroes call EO, IO, or 10, but we'll call it Wisp because near and dear in our hearts, it's really just like Wisp. Now, for those of you guys that are really not familiar with this particular hero, he is, for lack of a better word, broken. He does things to this game, just changes it. You don't play standard Dota 2 anymore. It is just this weird cross of Dota and some other stuff.
Yeah, it's like when you enter the Matrix, you know, things just get a little bit weird. They give away the Wisp, but with that being said, they knew they were doing it. They've played against Wisp before. Rattlesnake did the same thing to Quantic. They lost one game, they won the other, so they have shown they're capable of taking down Wisp, at least in some scenarios. And with that being said, they also picked up a CK, so they take away the CK Wisp combo from Dignitas.
Yeah, a lot of players think that, hey, they're taking a CK to deny the Wisp CK combo, which is, you know, kind of the most broken combo in Dota 2, but really Rattlesnake would just like to run CK on their own. A couple years ago, back in the China metagame, if you call it that, CK used to be a very popular hero just on its own without even the help of Wisp. And Rattlesnake's one of those teams that is bringing it back just by itself. They always love to run it with the Keeper of Light, and during the laning stage, they are very powerful as a dual combo. A ton of stun damage, a ton of nuke damage. Chaos Knight's usual weakness is because he lacks mana, and Keeper of the Light gives him that.
Yeah, we've seen some teams will even go for that Ancient Apparition combo with the CK.
Yeah.
Rattlesnake's not afraid to do it, but he got banned out. That won't be available to them. So you look at Rattlesnake now, they've got their 3 cores. They've got a very strong mid to late game. They will need a support here. Anything that you've got your eye on?
Team Dignitas love the Jakiro, but they also like to run it with things like Darkseer, Magnus, so we might not particularly see that hero. Well, they have Wisp and Rubik, I mean.
Yeah, you look, so for Rattlesnake here, maybe something like a Lina, a Jakiro.
Oh, you meant Rattlesnake.
Yeah.
Come on, LD. This is not new for us. Let's step it up. For Rattlesnake, they actually run a very wide array of supports. Shadow Demon's one of their go-to heroes. I actually like Jakiro quite a bit here. It's a very, very tanky support, and I think you need that for Timbersaw. Timbersaw is one of those heroes that could just burst you down from 100-0, starting from nowhere. I'm actually very worried for that Weaver. I'm kind of worried for that Keeper of Light, because Timbersaw, right now with the lineup that's very lacking in stun, how do you stop this crazy tree-cutting man from just going through your team?
Yeah, they've got a kind of weird lineup here. You've got Timbersaw, who hates trees. You've got Nature's Prophet, who loves them.
Trees, yeah.
But see, that's the beautiful thing about Dota. You put all of that aside, and then you go and you try to win some games together anyway. So, not the most natural of allies, but here they are. They're probably looking for that third core. They most likely do have their 2 supports, as you were pointing out. And Dignitas, we talk about this team often as a team that loves to and is really good at choosing when to fight. They don't force fights, generally speaking. They'll wait for the opportunities, and then they'll go. And when you've Wisp and Prophet, you can be very selective. You can fight whenever you want, or you can fight, or you don't have to fight.
Sure. I mean, Team Dignitas also known for dodging fights when they don't want to. Team Dignitas needs a Wisp partner. So Sven is being banned out. Of course, Chaos Knight being drafted by Rattlesnake. So historically, there is things like Tiny, which, by the way, last year in the International 2, eHome went through a lot of teams in the lower bracket just from the Wisp Tiny. So we'll see what they actually go for. I think Tiny's by far the most popular hero choice, although we have seen in the past that it's not really who you pick with Wisp, it's just the Wisp. So you could pick anything here and it'll be fine.
Yeah, Rattlesnake, second support now going to come off the board for them. They've got plenty of, like, they'll go for a Naga Siren, which a couple of months back, we weren't really seeing her at all. And you go farther back than that, and she was always a farmer. But nowadays, teams are happy to run her as a support. They have a lot of physical damage, a lot of minus armor. Dignitas, Ghost Scepters might be on the agenda if this game goes a bit later.
Yeah, the not too much range, though, which is something I'm concerned with Rattlesnake. Their laning stage might be a little bit weaker because of that, especially against heroes like Timbersaw, who could always get away from you. That can be a concern. But one good thing that you do have against by picking up Naga Sirens, that you have a really reliable way of catching Nature's Prophet. Somewhere down the road, Nature's Prophet, played by Universe, is going to be pushing your towers on the side lanes, your top, your bot, sometimes mid, and sometimes just walk in with Naga Siren.
Here we go!
Can you say TI too? Because in the same game, we have Naga Siren, we have Morphling, and nobody's booing right now for these two heroes yet.
Yeah, nobody's booing the Morphling yet. We'll see how effective it is. But Fnatic has run this combo as well. The Morphling Wisp combo.
It was really
devastating.
effective. Yeah.
Arrow was on the Morphling, and they did so much work. they even dual laned at mid. Is that something we could expect out of Dignitas?
I definitely think so. I mean, who's Rattlesnake's mid right now? Because Chaos Knight plus Keeper could be it. You could just put Luo on the mid lane, or you could put Icy on the mid lane. But I really don't think any of those combos beat the Wisp Morphling.
All right, guys, let's get inside the game. It's a best of one. Loser goes home. First team knocked out. Winner stays alive on the side of Team Rattlesnake.
We're talking about Rattlesnake here, guys.
We'll start with USA then. We'll start with Team Dignitas, one of the two North American representatives at this event. Snake King going to be handling the Timber Saw. Fog Dota on the EO, the Wisp. Way too sexy, the captain bringing up the rear as the Rubik. AUI 2000 and a rather decked out Morphling. He'll be playing that. And last but not least, Universe, very consistent, very annoying on his Nature's Prophet into the off lane. And then on the dire side, we have Team Rattlesnake, Lamb on the Chaos Knight, Icy the Weaver, Sagem or Neo on the Keeper of the Light, Kabu on that support Naga Siren, and last but not least, Luo on the safe lane Gyrocopter.
Really good movement from Dignitas to start out the game. As a Wisp, you want to hit level 6 as soon as possible to get your one of the most broken spell in the game. And by going into this particular position of the map, you make sure that they don't ward off your jungle. So Wisp is going to be doing quite a bit of early game polling. Keep in mind that they also could run the Wisp on the mid lane on the Radiant side, because you could destroy these trees and also pull towards the mid lane. So there's a lot of ways here for our Dignitas players to play this particular Wisp.
Not too many shenanigans early on. Rattlesnake waiting for the bottom rune. They are aggressive tri-laning against a Wisp. If this goes south, it really goes south. It'll be a haste rune for Luo. He'll head up to the top lane. That puts him into a 1v1 against Universe's Prophet. Generally, Gyrocopter is one of those carry heroes that can handle most 1v1s.
Yes, and when LD says when this offensive tri-lane goes south, it goes south really drastically, because Naga Siren and Keeper of Light, they're not really good at ganking. So you can't really rotate a mid lane and start picking off Snake King, for example. So if that bot lane doesn't work out, they're kind of stuck there for a bit of time. So let's see, I guess for Rattlesnake's sake, let's see if they could do well in this bot lane.
Yeah, of course, if you're Dignitas, you've got a very hard to kill dual lane here. Morph lane, very elusive. He's got access to Strength Morph if they ever go on him, as well as the waveform, and the EO for Fog can tether away to safety. For the time being, way too sexy. Off in the jungle, it's something from the, actually, I believe from DreamHack, Louis.
Yeah, this is pretty cute here. What we're going to do is lift this creep, and then it's going to draw the creep wave as that creep walks back.
It looks like he somewhat mistimed it, and he only got the one creep here, though.
Yeah, way too sexy. Love to do kind of these crazy things, but doing it in a stage like this where if you lose, you go home. So, I mean... That
takes some cojones, man. Yeah. That is a bold move from him. Of course, it's a nice play because the camp was warded right now, and this is a lot safer. Rattlesnake cannot contest that pull. If that happens, then it goes off, and there's nothing they can do about it except maybe dive the tower.
Yeah, and of course, your two heroes on the bot lane also gets, a little bit more XP than the other side, but they're not really farming that well. AUI, generally one of the very good last hitters in North America, only has 1 CS, and that's definitely a big concern.
Meanwhile, in the middle lane, Snake King already 7-0 against Icy's Weaver. Now, generally, Weaver is a hero that can win or at least hold his own in a lane, but this is actually a pretty tough matchup for him.
Yeah, I mean, what Weaver likes to do is use his Sakuchi and just go right up next to you, do a little bit of damage, and also harass you quite a bit. But Snake King, all he has to do is press Whirling Death as, takes damage, and he just, deals way more back to Icy. Although, so far, he's not really doing it back.
Yeah, so for the time being, aggressive tri-lane from Rattlesnake. One of the reasons you love to run aggressive tri-lanes with the Keeper of the Light is that if the enemy team pulls, you can contest the pull. Use Illuminate, steal the creeps, harass the supports, but they're not pulling in a place that can be contested, so to me, this is actually going pretty well for Dignitas thus far.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Rubik has not hit at level 2 just yet, and I'm also wondering when is Way Too Sexy going to stop this pull, or if the Dire tri-lane on the bot lane is going to do anything to stop it. For example, you could send a ganking party to the mid lane and maybe gank off that Rubik as well. We'll see what they do.
There's one lane we haven't really looked at yet, and that's the off-lane Universe, Nature's Prophet, up against the safe lane Gyrocopter. Already 10-2 Luo, he's having a pretty good time in this lane, and he is leveling up the flat cannon first, which I think given the
Universe in big trouble right now. There's boots on Luo, but just nice bit of harass.
I like this flat cannon build because you're probably not getting in range to use the rocket barrage, which has a very low range, but the flat cannon, you can harass him from distance.
Yeah, also because Prophet could also summon Treants, those flat cannon harass is not going to be too reliable. Back in the mid lane,
Kabu looking for a first blood. Snake King in trouble. No Timber Chain, no easy way out. Dropping fast. For the time being, the reactive armor doing the work. He needs one more hit. First blood. Will it go to Icy? It will. Rattlesnake, first one's on the board. They notch clutch a kill to their belts, and Snake King not having that powerful start he was hoping for.
Yeah, Rattlesnake's ganking support are not too impressive, but it seems like the harassment from the mid lane was just barely enough, and they were able to pick it up. The double minus armor coming in from Rit type as well as Swarm was just enough to take away the armor of that Timbersaw.
Yeah, generally Timbersaw, if he's in against a very hard lane, you'll actually see him max the Timber Chain, which makes him much more difficult to kill in that scenario. But in a 1v1, leveling up the nuke early as well as the reactive armor just allows you to trade way more effectively. So it wasn't a 1v1, unfortunately.
Right, we cannot stress on how important that kill is, because that puts Icy closer to level 6, which when he gets level 6, he's going to be a lot more difficult to kill. And Snake King is really reserving those Whirling Death, and so far still doing an okay job zoning Icy out.
In spite of the deck, he is 21-1. And you look at your Weaver, only 12-1, not having the best start. We can actually check these support levels, and I'm also very worried about Way Too Sexy like you, because he's still level 1.
He's been pulling. Where's the experience been going to?
We're 4 minutes in. He got off a pull here, but he actually stacked the camp. So the creeps have basically been suiciding to it. Of course, the Naga Siren's a bit underleveled, but she's been having her impact simply by ganking.
Yeah, well, how's Universe doing up top? Because generally when Dignitas is having early game trouble, Universe is the man they kind of look forward to, and he TPs in and gets, 2 or 3 kills, and suddenly Dignitas is right back. But I think Dignitas is slightly behind right now. Can they make the recovery right now?
They're grouped up as 3 at the bottom lane. Maybe look to make a go on Fogged here. AUI 2000 pretty close to him. Just simple harassment. They are not killing the Wisp, however. All this being said, Fogg's still getting decent levels against the tri-lane. And when you aggressive tri-lane, generally you do want to stop that Wisp from hitting level 6.
And again, for the viewers that don't watch Dota 2 normally, Wisp hitting level 6, according to some North American players, is just GG.
Meanwhile, Universe getting solo killed on the top lane. Luo, early solo kill for a safe lane Gyro. Generally, not the best 1v1 killer, although he's great at harassment, but drops the call down. Universe, unable to TP out in time, does go down.
And now it's really hard for Universe to go back to that lane because phase boot is up on Luo. The burst of movement speed really will allow him to go right next to Prophet, and really he is going to be in big trouble. But still, he's going to TP back in the lane instead of going back to the jungle.
Early on, Rattlesnake leading 2-0, 5.5 minutes in. Dignitas, they do have some comeback mechanics here. They've got a global lineup. They've got a lot of abilities to fight pickoff in the mid game. But Rattlesnake, a pretty fearsome 5-man. And if you let that 5-man get strong enough and you don't have the split push necessary to hold it back, then you've got to fight against it. And Rattlesnake, I don't think they're a team that Dignitas want to take head on in the early to mid game.
So LD, let me ask you a quick question. Is Dignitas in trouble? If you look at the experience and goal graph, they haven't even got a kill on that bot. Well, yeah, they haven't really got a kill on the bot lane just yet, but they're really leading by experience. They're really leading in terms of gold. That's generally a bad sign for a defensive dual lane.
It's not looking too good. The pull camp's still blocked off. They're not actually getting any pulls. Way Too Sexy just hit level 2, 6 minutes in. I mean, they can come back, but they need a certain level of items to do it. And they need level 6 on Wisp. They ideally want something on the Prophet. And so far, Universe has abandoned the lane. So that means Luo free to farm as much as he like. He can even push the lane if he wants to turn on the Ring of Basilius. Dignitas can still find something for themselves, but giving away free farm to a safe lane Gyro and not contesting him and not getting a good trade is generally not what you want.
Back in the mid lane, Icy perhaps in a little bit of trouble. Sakuchi will get him out of there. We did see Snake King walk to this particular area and place an Observer Ward, but that was under the sight of a Dire Observer Ward. So Rattlesnake would look to de-ward that very soon, and that's going to limit the ganking potential of Snake King. I really think that Snake King needs to get some burst damage ganks on the bot lane and perhaps set up a couple kills. He's doing a good job of zoning Icy out, but he's not really going to kill that Weaver, so I'm not sure how Dignitas is going to mount that comeback that they need.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said earlier, it really comes down to Universe and Snake King moving, because their tri-lane, level 2 Rubik, Wisp with just now picking up her boots. Can they actually go in? They're going to try. Prophet ult splashing through. Looks like they maybe wanted to go for a waveform into a tether stun, but just could not quite get in range in time. Rattlesnake will back off, reset, and reload.
It was a smart attempt by AUI because they realized that one of the enemy support was de-warding them, so they had the number advantage. And it could have been a smart go if they got the range for that waveform. Obviously, good retreat here by Rattlesnake.
It's 2 prongs of pressure right now. Luo just consistently pushing that top lane. The glitch
nice
there
deny.
and a beautiful deny. Universe finding one against the Gyro who solo killed him. That's impressive.
Universe with those phase boots really helping out here. And of course, he's also been jungling a little bit here on the camp that Way Too has been stacking. So Universe is hopefully making that comeback. His next item choice will be the Mahana Midas.
I mean, I'm just looking at Rattlesnake, 3 cores, all leading in terms of net worth. Dignitas, obviously a great comeback lineup. You've got global ganking prowess. You've got a lot of burst damage in the mid game. but it also feels like if Rattlesnake get a few core items, like your BKB on Lamb in the mid game, a fast BKB on the Gyro, he's not going for one Lumi. Quelling Blade for Luo. Helm of Iron will up. He's going to stack some Ancients, and they're looking to take this a bit later against Wisp and against Prophet.
Quelling Blade on a ranged hero, some of you guys might be scratching your head. It is, I think, really for the Nature's Prophet, because Sprout is going to be one of the ways to lock down Luo early on, and Quelling Blade is a free get-out-of-the-jail card for him. Obviously, it helps you farm a little bit, although for Luo, his last hit is generally very good, so he shouldn't need it.
Dignitas still hanging on, and of course, like we talked about, not only are they a great team at avoiding fights, but they're a great lineup to do it. You've got so many defensive ways to escape, disengage, and split push, and if the enemy team can't 5-man fast enough, they'll back, and you get to farm more. 3 heroes back to the bottom lane. I mean, it's a level 2 Rubik Lumi. This guy needs a bailout.
He does, and I don't know where that balance is coming from. Look at these Illuminate harass. I mean, sure, he's not hitting these Illuminates, but it doesn't matter because these supports are just playing so scared. Way too roamy around here, trying to set up a kill, but he's got to be careful because Lamb could easily turn around and initiate right on him.
Both teams fighting for their tournament lives. Snake came with a haste run up, back to the middle lane. Getting closer to his next item. 45 CS. He is still winning mid when it comes to farm. Unfortunately, though, the Weavers just had a little more early movement. And now Rattlesnake still 2 heroes bottom. They'll actually rotate off the lane. Kabu heading back towards mid. To be fair, Rattlesnake supports aren't getting too much either. Level 3 Naga Siren. Level 5 Keep of the Light is pretty good, but trading that for Wisp, that's a trade I'll take any day if I'm Dignitas.
So I think Rattlesnake is making a smart move by not diving the enemy tower. I mean, they are winning that bot lane so hard, but they're not making a dive just yet because they respect the TP that could come from Snaking. Speaking of TP, one comes from Rattlesnake, and they want to make a go on Snaking. Snaking has a Timber Chain, so he should be absolutely fine. Drops a couple of nukes, but here comes the net. We need a stun. There's just no vision, and Lamb makes a TP, does not get a kill.
Dignitas were hoping and praying that he went there. They had 3, actually make it 4 heroes, all parked in the middle lane. If Rattlesnake went there, that's probably 3 dead for them. So good decision to disengage, and they really dodged the bullet.
But it's like you said, LD, it just goes back to the global map pressure. Luo on the top lane putting a ton of pressure. Of course, the TP going to mid lane now pressuring Snaking, and finally AU has some breathing room in the bot lane. But if you look at CS, it's only got 31, and Morphlane needs like 10 times that to really start, going.
Yeah, let's not forget about Tether. Overcharge as well. Morphling can do more with less because he's got a Wisp, one of the best utility supports in terms of buffing up your carry in the game. But yeah, he needs a lot, and in general, Morphling needs more than Gyrocopter to fight. He's a great split pusher, he's a pretty strong farmer, but an early Helm of the Dominator on Luo, you can see the Ancients being stacked. Dignitas have not dewarded this yet. They should have spotted the Helm of the Dominator now, but...
Ooh, initiation on the bot lane here. Reality Rift being used by the Chaos Knight. That's going to force AI to morph a tiny bit to shrink.
See, here's the problem, Lumi. Their supports are so poor and so squishy, I don't actually think they can even go ward the Ancients, even if they wanted to.
Well, forget about the Ancients a minute, because we're going to see Luo TPing on the bot lane. I think we're going to see a little bit of pushing coming out from Rattlesnake.
Kabu has access to net. Riptide online. Fog, not yet level 6, but getting close. If they dive him and he has it, he can buy back and re-engage. Universe, still no ganks from him, working towards a Hand of Midas. Dignitas haven't lost any towers aside from that tier 1 top, and now we'll see Fog, a beautiful tether away, dodging the gang. They will be most likely forfeiting a tier 1 bottom, though. That's a pretty big tower loss early on. Their jungle now, not very safe, and they're a team that really wants to take advantage of the jungle.
Yeah, not too much that Dignitas could do about it. They're down behind, but I really like what they're doing in the mid lane. They're saying, hey, you know what? We can't fight bot. Let's put some pressure on the mid lane and try to get something going our way. But Neo comes in there, or Sagam as he's called right now.
Yeah, here's the problem. You're up against Keeper of the Light.
Yeah.
You can't really push, at least not now. Maybe if your Morphling gets really fat, but for the next 10 to 20 minutes, pushing with minions, pushing with a few heroes is not going to be that easy.
Well, it looks like AU has actually used his waveform on the bot lane. That is kind of his get-out-jail free card. And Lamb is just doing a little bit of harass. One interesting thing to point out is that he does have an early level of Spantasm. Generally, Chaos Knight don't pick it up until like level 9.
He's just toying.
Look at these horse harass.
He's pump faking repeatedly. AUI, though, not to be fooled by it, just hanging back, playing it safe. And there's your Midas for Universe. Gives up a first blood, but still has found himself a 13-minute, sub-13-minute Midas. And Prophet, a hero, if you leave him unchecked, he'll catch up.
Dignitas is on the way to come back, because Wisp has also hit level 6, and I think he's thinking about porting Snaking somewhere. He is by far the most dangerous hero against Rattlesnake at this stage of the game, but they just don't see anybody that they can pick off on the mid lane, or anybody on the, anywhere on the map, to be honest.
Both teams just continuing to find farm. Lamb now off the bottom lane, rotating around. They didn't actually kill the Wisp at all in this tri lane. They haven't killed the Morphling. They have shut down his farm a lot, but Dignitas it seems like losing that tier 1 bottom may have actually helped them, because Rattlesnake are just content to sit back. They've abandoned the tri-lane. They seem a little aimless to me, Lumi. These supports moving around, but not really putting any pressure on the map and not farming too much.
I completely agree with that. Losing the tower on the bot lane, AUA says, thank you very much. Now I have free farm room here. And if you look at the goal graph, despite losing so poorly, and we've been saying they've been losing for a long time, the goal graph doesn't really say that Rattlesnake's leading by too much. And the experience is actually going back in the direction of Team Dignitas.
Oh, relocate to the top lane. Kabu's in trouble. Only level 5, and they blow him up. Relocate. Will it be enough? They lose the Wisp on the way in. It's a 1-for-1, support for support, but Dignitas with a haster on Snakecade, they'll go right back to farming.
Yeah, I mean, when you're trading effectively and evenly when you're losing the game like this, that's all you can ask for. They also have drawn a TP out of Lamb, which is, the secondary carry for the team, so he's not really doing too much at the top lane. He's out of mana also. So I think that was really a great find for Team Dignitas. And of course, Wisp, once his relocate cools down 1 more minute, they'll keep looking for these kills.
Watch out for Spidey. He throws out the chakram off the mark, but now they're going back in. Here they go the other direction. Snakecade, however, a very tanky foe. Can they bring him down? The Sprout's there. He's still alive. He just keeps on going. Throws it out again. Will he fall? Bottling up. How is he living? How is he living? Why is he living? I don't even know. Kabu on the way out. Kabu zap from the backside. And way too sexy, turns it around. You just can't kill Spider-Man like that, Lumi. He ain't an easy kill.
I never knew Spider-Man had so much armor, because reactive armor just put him and gave him so much healing. In fact, it was Lamb that was close to dying, but really good recovery from Team Dignitas. And guess what? That risk relocate back in 15. I think they're looking for more.
Yeah, he might be more of a spawn, because, man, he was like super Spidey. He just would not die. And this is the thing. Once you get that level 3 or 4 Timber Chain, it's very hard to kill him. And Snakecade lives through it all, goes back to base and heals up. And if Dignitas are trading, not only is it good because they're behind, it's good because they can go back to farming much more quickly than Rattlesnake overall. You've got Wisp and you've got Prophet. So when the gank ends, you just go back to farming. Of course, Rattlesnake still keeping the pressure up, Earn now up on Icy, and they do have an absolute free farm gyro, stacking the Ancients. That's a lot of golems.
Yeah, it is, and Flat Cannon will be working towards them in a bit.
They're multiplying, Lumi.
I didn't know that they could do that.
Yeah, I don't know how golems do it, but they just keep on coming. More and more, faster and faster. Easy kills for that gyro, though, once he gets enough farm. Dignitas still have not done anything to contest these Ancients. I would have liked to see a ward, maybe a little bit of scouting from Treants, but so far, just not doing anything. When you see the Helm of the Dominator, you know what Gyro's up to.
I really like the fact, I think the name of the game, as you pointed out earlier, is pressure. If you look at Icy on the bot lane, normally that's a very dangerous spot to farm at, but he says, I just can't let AUI just do whatever he wants on the bot lane. So he sends himself down there and at least harass him a little bit, but he might be running into a gank party. Here we go.
Rune for Snakecade. Fog's there. The Radiant Ward does spot out the rotation of the Weaver, but he'll simply retreat out. And the one thing Rattlesnake also have going for them is that Weaver is very hard to lock down. Even if you relocate, if he Sakuchi's away immediately, by the time, and he does it away from the direction you're coming from, by the time you get there, he might just be gone.
I really think that Rattlesnake is kind of well equipped to deal with the Wisp. You talked about Weaver as being a hard to kill hero. Chaos Knight fairly tanky. Call down and BKB almost up on Gyrocopter. That's going to be an issue for Dignitas as well. And let's not forget about Song of Siren as a free disengage anytime they want to use it. Blinding Light's not too bad as well if Sagam is not caught in it. So I feel like Rattlesnake as a whole team, they are pretty well equipped to deal with the Wisp relocate.
And still, all of a sudden, it's actually the Rattlesnake supports by far the most underleveled. Level 6 on the Naga Siren, level 6 on the Keeper of the, Keeper of the Light as well. These two are just not finding the levels, Lumi, and somehow, someway, Way Too Sexy has been parked in this vicinity in the off lane with no tower to protect him, and Rattlesnake have not yet punished it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how Way Too Sexy goes, level 2, 4 minutes in, and now actually is a decent, well-leveled support. He's only a level behind his carry player, so yeah, he's doing quite well. Good recovery.
Remember, and again, he was level 2 when other supports were level 5.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it, but I think that solo kill, for example, that he got earlier was a big part of it. Yeah, but again, the pressure is the name of the game, and Rattlesnake has really scaled it back. And it's not about just in-game pressure, but if you want a Total player sitting in those booths and you just can't find farm anywhere, anywhere you go and you think you'll get ganked, that's kind of the pressure that is also very hard to deal with. And Dignitas has breeding room, and they're looking for kills.
Remember, you win this best of 1, you win 1 more, you're in the money. So it's a lot of pressure. Best of 1, there's no game 2, there's no insurance policy here.
In lane here, we're going to see a lift.
Going in, onto land, thrown back into the tower. And once again, Dignitas finding a kill. A late Song of the Siren by Kabu does nothing. and Dignitas will disengage. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, I see farming some trans, but the thing is, Lumi, they didn't use relocate for that.
Timbersault's not done yet. He sees Sagam. That's a free go. No, he doesn't want to do it.
There's no song, so if you're Dignitas now, this is like a team not having Ravage. It's a big opportunity to dive towers and really force those fights.
They are respecting the power of Luo. They haven't seen him in the map for a bit. They don't know whether he has a BKB or not. And speaking of that BKB, it's coming right now. If you dive against Luo, he could just dish out a ton of damage. Of course, a Helm of Dominator on him also gives him a ton of armor, which will be important against Morphling a little bit later on.
Yeah, they're getting the core items up on Rattlesnake. Now your Chaos Knight, I imagine Lamb, drums completed, will work towards a BKB. And BKB is so good against Wisp because it blocks the Tether Stun, it blocks the Orb damage, and it means that you can really force the fight instead of running for dear life as soon as you see that Wisp.
Yeah, I'm actually quite concerned for Lamb despite having drum up. You saw how he just melted in that engagement. Timbersault's pure damage output says, don't care if you're Strength Hero, I'm going to just dish out so much damage that you're going to drop like a fly. So look towards snaking, keep making those plays. By the way, he's also very close to that Bloodstone. And once you get that Bloodstone, he just entered in this I'm kind of immortal territory.
Yeah, the hero's already hard to kill. Give him additional regen, give him extra lives, and give him, or rather, quicker returns to the fights. He spends less time dead with the Bloodstone, and he can do more. But a relocate to the top lane. Lambie's already crit an illusion, but Dignitas are not fooled. Lamb in trouble. Lamb could be going down. And what started as a 2-0 game is now 4-3. Dignitas keeping the dream alive here and starting. Is this the beginning of a comeback?
What an odd game plan. Let's gank the tankiest Strength Hero on the enemy team, kill them, and get their tower. You know, I think Dignitas, they're finding that breeding room, they're getting a ton of things to do in the map, and guess what? Split pushing is now online. Universe had that Shadow Blade for a long while.
He's the king of many things, the Snake King, and he's apparently a king of the runes. Another DD for this guy. Not that the Timbersault particularly needs it, but everything starting to turn towards Dignitas, finding their farm, holding on to the towers. AUI 2000 working towards his Linked Sphere as well, and Universe pushing the top lane. And now the split push starts to become a problem. Universe pressuring one lane, the Morphling another. Rattlesnake constantly reacting, never forcing the fights. And now a Shadow Blade out from Universe. It's a ticking time bomb, Lumi. Even, it's not the relocate ganks by themselves. It's the threat that's keeping Rattlesnake on the back foot.
It's very hard for Rattlesnake to deal with this. There's a couple of ways you could deal with it. If they split push you, you push them back. But as you saw in the mid lane, Timbersault says, here's my little friend Chakram, and you're not going to push against that. So Rattlesnake, they're kind of running out an option, and now the creeps are back to their side. Now, this team does go quite late. When you have heroes like Chaos Knight, when you have heroes like Gyrocopter, you're not afraid going into late game. But on the other side, this Waterman is also kind of dangerous. So I don't think Rattlesnake is in a comfortable position as they were 10 minutes ago.
If you're Dignitas, you do want to be selective about your team fights. You don't want to force a 5-on-5 engagement against a Gyrocopter like this. He is going to do a lot of work. You also have mass AoE damage from the Nagasai and Riptide, from the Illuminate. So I like how Dignitas is playing it. Not forcing fights, sitting back, split pushing. Even if they get ganked, they're only losing 1 or 2 at most. They're not really getting into a situation where 3 or 4 heroes fall and they suddenly risk giving up Roshan, which, by the way, Rattlesnake have a very strong and potent lineup for taking down Roshan in a hurry.
Dignitas don't want to fight.
They sense it. They're going to tether out. Fogged on the run. There is a Song of the Siren available. Not being used just yet. It's a long way to go. And still Kabu giving chase. Fogged scouting things out with the orbs. They are retreating back. And a smoke gank for Rattlesnake. So far amounting to zilch. They continue to chase. It's all the way from the bottom tier 1. They're going into mid. And Fogged is still there. He's got a tether. But he gets stunned. And he will go down. Make it 4-4.
That might have looked like an exciting kill for Rattlesnake fans out there, but I'm going to say they have lost gold in that gank because that was 5 heroes going into the enemy jungle, not farming. They're going to try to get a Roshan out of it, but our good friend Universe up top says, you're losing more towers, you're losing more damage on your tier 3 tower.
Rattlesnake now straight into the Roche pit. There is a relocate available. There is a Prophet ult available. Nothing scouting the pit yet, but Snake King's about to. He'll throw out the Chakram here. They know what's up. The jig is up for Rattlesnake. Will Dignitas engage? They have relocate. Let's wait and let's find out. Sagab on the high ground. Roche is down. No relocate yet. Are they coming in? There's your song. Snake King fighting the solo kill, but might be in trouble. He's got a Timber Chain. Where's he going to throw it? The song's about to end. Wait, relocate. Into the fight they come. Here's Fog. Song was stolen. Song was stolen. And they're backing off. 1 down and they get out. They do have the Aegis.
Look at the top lane. Absolute magicians. Dignitas says, I saw you in the mid lane with a stolen one and we're pushing up top. Universe got like 1,000 damage on that tier 3 tower. Rattlesnake are just getting outplayed.
Yeah, Rattlesnake outmaneuvered so far this game, not finding the pickoffs, constantly reacting.
Nice
It's
deny.
a tower denied by Icy. Well played on the bottom lane.
Oh,
they try to
Snaking.
bring down Staking, but he's hard to kill. The reactive armor charge is going up quicker and quicker, but not
Nice
dying.
block.
There you go. Down Staking falls. Did not use the suicide on the Bloodstone, so will give up a kill. But again, Dignitas can give up kills because they're split pushing. They have the more mobile lineup, and even if you find one kill, you can't push off of that. Despite finding kills, Rattlesnake are not securing map control for themselves. They have wards, but the lanes are pushing against them.
Very similar to that Wisp kill earlier. Oh, back in the mid lane, talk about that a little bit. Wisp in big trouble. A couple more hits is going to do it, and they do pick him off. I mean, getting that kill on Snaking on the bot lane was nice and all, but it wasn't a very expensive kill because AUI has got the tower hit. He's got a ton of farm now. He's got the Lincoln Sphere almost being finished. And suddenly, you're not only dealing with Universe's Prophet up in this hot lane, you're also dealing with the Lincoln Sphere Morphling, and you just simply don't have enough nukes to deal with everybody.
Yeah, Rattlesnake do suffer a bit for lockdown here. You've got a Naga net, but that isn't hard lockdown. You can still waveform out of that. You can still tether out of that. There's a lot of ways to get out of it. Weaver can be locked in place by it. He does have a BKB now. I just feel like Rattlesnake is getting the teams mixed up here, Lumi. But it feels to me like Rattlesnake, sure, they've got a lot of damage, but they just can never pick a fight that's to their liking.
Yeah, and you can see that a support hero, 24 minutes in game, is farming in front of the tier 2 tower. He could do that because there's a Wisp on the team. And here we go, Universe.
Lamb's in danger.
Yep.
In comes Shadowblade Universe. Relocate.
No
available.
Why no go?
They are a little bit in the dark here. You look at the vision for Dignitas, and they don't know where these other heroes are. Luo's off the map. The Naga's off the map. So I actually think really smart by Dignitas not to engage. They could have gotten the kill, but it would have been just rolling the dice.
Right, and that's kind of how Dignitas made a comeback, right? They take fights where they think it's a safe kill, and if it looks a little bit dicey, they don't go for it. They haven't made too many mistakes apart from their kind of early game difficulties, and they're making a spectacular comeback. But is Rattlesnake out of this? I mean, I talked about their late game power earlier, and really I think they could take it ultra late.
I agree. They need more items. Lamb needs a BKB. We're 25 minutes in. CK not the best flash farmer and just didn't have free farm in that off lane. He needs a BKB. Gyro is Luo's fine. He's secured his farm and he'll continue to. But you look at a hero like Nago, Kabu would love to get some more items, be able to tank up through a tether stun and still get off Song, because right now if he gets caught, to me he dies without doing a thing, and that's a big problem for this team.
Speaking of Song, way too sexy Song is about to cool down. So interesting that
yeah,
you could perhaps initiate with that, but it runs out.
It's going to end. It's only a level 1 Song, 3-minute cooldown, the spell steal lasting just that long as well.
Well, that's kind of unfortunate. Rattlesnake Leo kind of putting himself in position on the mid lane, in position to be jumped upon. He's not too afraid of anything at this point because of that Aegis of Mortal. I think for Team Dignitas, you just wait out that Aegis. Says, I'm not going to take the fight to you. We farm better, we farm faster, and we have AUI, who, by the way, has he actually seen the enemy hero this game? Because he's just going at the PvE, as he said it in that introduction. Yeah,
is this World of Warcraft? Because right now he's just farming like there's no opposition whatsoever, sitting back freely in the bottom lane, not being challenged. Rattlesnake, again, I feel like if they could find a 5v fight, 5v5 fight, they'd still do fantastically. But Dignitas are in the driver's seat. They get to choose when the fight's happening. Rattlesnake do not. And that's not going to change unless one of these heroes gets some additional lockdown, which seems a long way off.
Weaver thinking about setting up some play in the mid lane, just doing a little bit of denying. He's got his BKB, so he could play kind of ultra aggressive. And again, Rattlesnake is trying to bang their hard head against Chakram, and it just doesn't work. The Screed Wave's getting demolished.
Will the snake shed a new skin here? Are we going to see Rattlesnake adopt a different strategy? Because this one doesn't seem to be working.
Lane.
Universe breaking the high ground. Glyph forced out. Will there be a TP reaction? Naga, Son online, could Son and then TP? Well, for the time being, they're just defending bottom. It's, again, a two-pronged assault, and Universe is going to just simply Shadowblade and run away. I'm just looking at this Rattlesnake map control, and this is about the region of the map that they can actually do anything within, because beyond that, you got to go defend.
And that region is shrinking because we are pushing every single lane. Mid lane, perhaps a little bit trouble. And keep in mind that Dignitas always got the ace up their sleeves, right? The relocate means you just never go there anywhere by yourself. If you go as a unit of one, you're in big trouble, unless you're Luo, because he has Aegis and BKB.
Look at that gold graph. It was at one point a 4,000 gold deficit for Dignitas. They now lead by 2,000. Experience still slightly towards Rattlesnake's favor, but basically irrelevant. It's that close. Icy on the bottom lane. Way too sexy, looking to catch him out. He's got Flat Cannon. Not the ideal spell for a Rubik, but it sure looks cute while he's using it. And for Rattlesnake, I feel like they're cornered at this point. They just cannot control the game.
They really can't. Dignitas well ahead, and if you look at the items coming out from Team Dignitas, a couple of key ones. Way too sexy, close-up Link Dagger region where he's going to continue to make those spectacular plays. Nature's Prophet's got the Scythe of Ice, and that's generally an indication that one team is really going late. Of course, we have a Shiva's Guard attempt on Timbersaw. Once these kind of big items come out, it's very, very hard for Rattlesnake to win these 5v5 team fights, which LD thinks, they're still kind of ahead on.
Yeah, teleport. As the game goes on, it becomes less clear if they actually are ahead there, because now AUI 2000 gets to a point where he can just instantly shotgun. Even a hero like Chaos Knight, he might be able to bring him down to a 3rd HP, and then CK's done for the fight. But Weaver, if he doesn't get off BKB quickly, if it's on cooldown, is food. And, well, you see Kabu does pick up some additional HP here. Power Treads and a Bracer, so not the easiest hero to go on, but Dignitas, great pick-off potential. Can Rattlesnake act, even if they have 5 heroes there, do they get to live long enough to fight a 5v5, or do they instantly lose 1 or 2 and then have to fight it out 3 or 4v5?
I'm not too sure whether Rattlesnake could make it out alive, and that's kind of big issue. And that's strange, right? When you have heroes like Weaver, when you have heroes like Chaos Knight, they are supposed to be survivable. And so far, they're not. Teleportation up top by Universe, and he's thinking to make some play. There's a Sentry Ward down here. Relocate comes, and they're going to go with Lua. Lua does have the BKB, but they're okay. Oh, here comes a Song Counter Initiate. They got to focus on Fog, I think.
This is very bad. Cooldown's available. It's going to hit pretty well. No, Snake King jumping out. Universe, the only one dead so far, and it looks like our Wisp maybe. Nope, Fog's okay. Nope. Relocates back to safety. So they go in, but again, when they screw up Dignitas, they lose 1. It's not the biggest loss. They won't even lose a tower off of this. Unfortunately, Roshan's still down, so they're fine there too.
Yeah, they're absolutely okay. I mean, you lose 1, you lose your Nature's Prophet, which is never a good thing. Sagam, in a little bit of trouble. He should be fine.
It's not fun for these supports. I mean, I was talking about the Morphling with an Ethereal Blade, which AUI 2000 is going for, and I think it's a great item for multiple reasons. But it's also Snake Cane. Massive pure damage coming out from him, and it's tough for any support to deal with that.
Well, the King of Runes does it again. Another double damage. Not that he really needs it.
Unfortunately, kind of useless for
Timbersaw. It's like, oh yeah, I hit for 160 now. Oh wait, they don't really care.
Look, Ma, it's like you have a jet engine, but you don't have the rest of the jet. What does it do for you? So he can get off some auto attacks, but very minimal at that. Dignitas still keeping the pressure on this top lane, and this will become more important when Roshan respawns. It's really going to be up to Universe, and they're going away too sexy now. He's in trouble. Caught out by Lance, and cleave down. Relocate comes. Here's Snake King. Say hello to him. They'll chakra him out. Fogged on the run. Fogged in trouble. Fogged down. Now waving over to Kabu. Kabu, well, we'll see a replica down. AUI says, bad fight. I'm going to get out of here. Snake King now on the run. There is, however, a pull back in. A stun as well. Stun. He was short. He was short. He airballs it a little bit, and unfortunately, they lose 2. They lose 3, and now Roche is up soon. This is going to give Dignitas a little bit of trouble here. These lanes might get pushed out of Rattlesnake. That's the gateway into some map control for them.
I mean, even when Dignitas lose fights, they're going to make you pay for something, because Universe says, I'm now attacking your tier 2 tower. It doesn't matter when Dignitas lose fight, because all these fights are on the opposite side of the map. Even when Rattlesnake wins these fights, there's not much global objective for them to actually take. You're not pushing any towers. Roshan is back up really soon, so that can be a concern, but Team Dignitas is playing really well right now.
It's not that Rattlesnake can't win. They absolutely can. They've got 3 incredibly strong semi to hard carries in the Gyro, the Chaos Knight, the Weaver. Plenty of physical damage. Dignitas have some heroes that can be food in the mid game, in the late game. A Rubik with 850 HP. It's not that they can't win, it's just that Rattlesnake continue to have trouble finding fights and forcing them on their terms. They caught out way too sexy, sure, but he was here. He was in the dire jungle, way out in enemy territory and by his lonesome. And a crucial pickup, or at least it could be. AUI 2000 now secures himself an Ethereal Blade. Again, there are shotgun targets. The obvious ideal target is going to be something like that Keeper Light. Instant kill for this Morphling.
I mean, it's very easy for us to say, Rattlesnake.
Oh man, here we go. Lamb Shadow Blade. Lamb's got a Shadow Blade, and I actually like this a lot. I was going to say earlier, I would like to see this Weaver maybe get something like a Scythe of Ice, because I feel they need that ganking lockdown power, but this gives them an element of surprise they've been lacking.
I mean, it helps Rattlesnake to go on the offensive, but I don't think they will be going on the offensive.
It doesn't help you win the team fights.
Exactly. It doesn't help them to find anybody, because Dignitas, King of Turtles, I guess. You just don't find these guys. King of Ninjas?
At least this game. Fog now scouting out the pit, caught by Kabu. Is there a tether available? Tethering to AUI. There's your shotgun in your face, but Now the song comes. They've caught 3. It could be a bad fight. Call down not available. No mana for it. They're not going to have this slow. Fog, can he get out? He heads north. The chakra comes through. Massive damage. Absolutely ridiculous from Snake King. He fights 2. Now Icy, 3 dead. That's 2 cores. And Dignitas are barreling down the middle lane, leading, or even trailing 9-11, but leading in momentum.
They are very lucky that they have Keeper of the Light right now, because Keeper of Light is very good defensive support. But Morphling says, I don't care. I don't care if I have creeps, because I'm going to just hit on your towers.
Lamb, he's found a solo kill. The Shadow Blade pays off. But now, the stolen call-down may be going to be used against him. He's slowed, and he will go down.
Top Rax in huge trouble right now. Glyph is going to get forced out.
He's got buyback here if he needs it too.
Well, speaking of buyback, Chaos Knight's right back. He's going to try to make some play, but who do you kill? I guess you go for way 2, but he's surrounded by 4. Gem gets picked up. He gets lifted. There's a Hex on him. He's going to go down. What's joining the fights on the back line, but they don't care. They're going to focus on the Rax, and Dignitas
out of nowhere, 1 lane of Rax. Dignitas seemed like the momentum was against them in the laning stage, but they held on. Way too sexy, level 2 at 5 or 6 minutes. All of a sudden, 13, 3.2k gold, and Dignitas are going for the jugular. They're going for the GG, grouped up at mid. 2 lanes of Rax can be coming in against Wisp, against Prophet. Good luck leaving your base. Hell, Lumi, good luck leaving your fountain.
Well, they're definitely out of the fountain just yet, trying to defend this Rax, but it's done. More or less a Pyrrhic victory here for Rattlesnake. They may have ushered them out of the base, but Dignitas have left on their own terms.
It's a best of 1 Rattlesnake. They may fight until the throne falls, but it will be very hard to hang on from here.
Especially when AUI sees a big Rockman.
Yeah, AUI 2000 maybe looking for a bit of revenge here. Not against Lamb's Rockman from the International 2, but against the Roshan Rock. And it's online now for Rattlesnake. They have Song of the Siren. I think they can win a fight at Roche, maybe, just maybe, but even if they do, Universe can just TP in top. The Glyph, not online anymore, and he could just start working on the tier 4s and the throne. And what does an Aegis really buy you if you're Rattlesnake? They have to win, to me, like 5 or 6 big fights in a row. At least 3 or 4 to start working their way back into this game.
I think they have a shot at winning this game, but only if they get this Aegis, and I'll talk about that in a bit, because I don't think Dignitas will give you a freebie. Of course, Universe says, hey.
They could go in now. They're trying to scout it out with Fog, but Roche is dropping pretty low. In comes the Chakram. Zom's there. Are they going to finish the Rose? They're running. They're bailing. No, they want to fight. Call down deployed. Tethering down is Fog. AUI 2000 blows one up. Now on to way too sexy. But while this is happening, Universe, your home won't be there for you. The Rage Rack's falling. Now Snaking, standing strong. They blasted back. Luo tried to duke it out. Psyched up.
Dead.
Brought down. And that could be it. Rattlesnake, triple kill against them.
Quad kill. AUI says you ain't going home. AUI maybe PVing really hard earlier, but just delivers. And that's why he's known as one of the best carries in the North American scene.
Team Dignitas, kings of dodging fights they don't want to take and taking the ones they do. The Snake King leading the way, and here they go.
GG.
And it's a GG. Rattlesnake, your wild card team is going home. The first team knocked out of the International 3 main event.
Came a long way. It was just 5 players, no managers. It was a tough roll, but
what a performance from Team Dignitas. Backs against the wall, they deliver.
And of course, the crowd chanting Team USA. There's Canadians on the team too. Just like to remind everybody out there.
Apparently, we're all American today.
Right.
Unfortunately for Rattlesnake, they came a very long way. They had their moments. They came close in a lot of games, but the group stages, they just didn't have enough to get into the winner's bracket. And this is, someone has to go home.
I'm just impressed how they did it. It was a spectacular comeback, but we'll let the analysts talk about that.
Yeah, back to you guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much there, Lumi and LD. And what a victory. What a first kind of lower bracket game. Dignitas came out. The Timber was there. The Wisp was there. It was going to be an entertaining game no matter what. There was a lot of kind of hesitation around the mid area, the mid section of the game, but then they just showed their potential, their lineup, and how well they played. So what do you guys make of it overall?
Dignitas, whenever Rattlesnake got a kill, they made them pay a lot for it, whether it just be a lot of time wasted or just being able to split push with Wisp and or Furion constantly. That T1 tower in mid stayed up the whole entire game. and Timbersaw was their second pick. And I thought that Snake King played it pretty well, even though he like missed a Timber Chain here or there and gave up First Blood, but still pretty fantastic performance from Dignitas.
It seemed like Rattlesnake didn't really have a plan to sort of counter Universe's Nature's Prophet, because every time they did anything, like they clumped up in the middle lane, but he just took out a tier 2 tower by, when they ganked one hero, they got the Wisp out of it. They never got the middle tower, and they just ran around doing nothing. I think by the end of it, their game plan was just to get a Divine Braviar and an Aegis up on the Gyrocopter and go straight down through middle lane, but by that point in time, it was way too late. I think the fight in the middle lane was obviously the deciding factor. That's where they lost three Raxes, and that was just, you know, Rattlesnake initiated with Siren's Sleep, and way too sexy. No, not way too sexy, but Snake King and Fogged on the Wisp just executed all three of them with a great tether combo.
Yeah, so we actually do have some highlights from some of the moments of the game, so we'll go to that. And as expected, most of the highlights will be around the Wisp, and this was the first real gank with the Wisp TP, and as mentioned, LD and Lumi said, you know, they're so strong right now, they're ganking kind of strength heroes. They were able to do that, and they picked up the tower. And of course, here's the Song of the Siren, and this is the big play from the Rubik hero, who I believe was way too sexy, ends up stealing the song and turns the whole thing around. Fogged comes in on the Wisp, and then that's got to be demoralizing when you're Rattlesnake, because you just know you got massively outplayed in that moment. Excellent play by Way Too Sexy on the Rubik.
I think that's one of the better plays we've seen in this tournament. I haven't seen every single game, but I would point this out as a very, very fine...
It's definitely up there in the top 3 right now.
Yeah, definitely.
It is very interesting when we see teams pick Wisp. I mean, there's a reason why it's one of the most banned heroes. We normally say that it's very hard to play against Wisp because it forces you to play differently. And some people say, okay, that means that you can't go alone because you will get ganked by the Wisp. And it's not only that, it's the fact that you have the Wisp and the Nature's Prophet at the same time made it so. Yes, okay, so you may not be alone, you may be with people, but when the Wisp jumped into a team fight, the Timbersaw was there, Morphling was there, it was the split pushing power of the Nature's Prophet, taking towers, taking Raxes, just getting something out of it. I think this was, I would even go ahead and say they were tactical fitting. Now, you're an expert on tactical fitting. Is it a thing?
I am an expert, and it's you know, it's a toss-up. When you sacrifice one hero, especially if it's a Wisp, like a support player, getting a tier 2 tower in the trade, I think that's a good trade. And you get a lot of farm up on Nature's Prophet, you get a lot of farm and space for the Morphling, which they really needed in the early game, because Aoi didn't have much farm, but all of a sudden he comes out with the Lincoln Sphere and, you know, the shotgun, so there's just not much Rattlesnake could actually do, because every time they chased around, the only ones they could find was Rubik or Wisp.
Exactly.
And of course, the Timbersaw is pretty hard to lock down, as we saw with the reactive armor. And speaking of Timbersaw, that was played by Snake King, which is where we're going next, because Casey has an interview.
Hello, guys. Yeah, they just, like at the moment that you said that, they tossed it down to us. I am with Snake King. He was just asking me. We've actually been having a nice little conversation here for a while. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you very much.
And we were comparing stories about nerves. When I get nervous, I get really sweaty, and you were saying the opposite.
Yes, my hands it gets very cold, and I constantly have to use the bathroom. And right now, I'm in the booth, and there's no bathroom to use. It's kind of, yeah.
And we think your teammates thank you for not using the bathroom anyway while you're in the booth.
Yes.
So tell me about how you dealt with the nerves going into this match. I can imagine, you know, one and done is a little bit more pressure, but you were telling me earlier that the pressure is pressure no matter what kind of a game you're playing.
Yeah, every game, even during the group stage, I was very nervous going into it, because this is my first biggest tournament I've ever played in, and I'm very excited, but at the same time, the nerves are definitely kicking in, and I'm looking forward to play Orange.
I want to ask you about Rattlesnake first, them being a relatively newer team compared to all the other teams here. Did that make it more difficult for you guys to actually study up on them and be prepared for them coming into this round?
Luckily, we were able to study the 14 games they played in the group stage, and their play style was very sort of predictable. They run a very obvious tri-core with obvious lanes, and we were able to prepare for that ahead of time. And the Timbersaw pick was just really direct counter to this strength melee tanky tri-core that they like to run.
Were there any moments in tonight's game that you thought you got a little worried that maybe you weren't going to be able to pull it off?
Our early game was very shaky. We basically lost every single lane, and in fact we did. And that bad start was definitely kicking in for my nerves, and But as soon as we progressed through the mid game phase and we were able to get a few kills on a gyro, we immediately took advantage of that and took the top racks and the middle racks, and from then it was pretty much game over.
So you mentioned looking forward to Orange. How nervous are you? Because you have to. There's a really tight turnaround now, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. How are you going to handle your nerves, and what are you most looking forward to?
Probably use the bathroom first, and then I'll be drinking a lot of water. Well, I don't know why I'm doing that, but it just helps me.
Maybe balance the water a little bit.
Yeah, the water calms me down.
What about Orange do you think you can expect and anticipate? What have you studied up on as far as getting ready for them? You don't have to reveal. You don't have to reveal anything, please. But are you looking forward to them as a challenging opponent?
Yes, this is our first game actually against Orange in general, and we have never played them before, and we have a few strategies prepared for them, but.
No, you don't have to tell.
Determined.
Your secret is safe with us. Snaking, thank you very much. I'm going to let you go so that you can actually get prepared for the next game. Best of luck. Hopefully we'll be talking to you again soon. And James, I'm going to send it back to you guys.
Thank you, Casey. So there we have it. That was Snaking. And